Before we get into the Cowboys rumors, some news as we broke down on a short the other day. The Cowboys have hired 3 coaches. Paul Guenther, the former Raiders and Bengals defensive coordinator, coming aboard as the defensive run game coordinator. Jeff, it is pronounced Skinina, by the way. I don't know how that happens, but that is the pronunciation. I got it wrong on the short. My bad. He's the new defensive line coach. And Greg Ellis, the former first-round pick of the Cowboys, the assistant defensive line coach. Now, later today, we will have a coaching grades video for you, breaking down all of the hires and the current coaching staff for Dallas. So make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on that and other Cowboys videos each and every single day. To the rumors we go. The big one is on Derrick Henry, courtesy, of Michael Irvin, which of course stands out as a very big name in the Cowboys world. One of the greatest 88s wants the Cowboys to sign Derrick Henry. Is there mutual interest? We'll break it down. Here's what Michael Irvin said on Undisputed about Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry can get them back. Derrick Henry hasn't gotten the love that he deserves. Come on over. Put that star on your helmet, buddy, and let us show you that kind of love. Now, I would immediately dispute this Derrick Henry hasn't been loved idea. This is a guy I think we all pretty much agree is going to be a future Hall of Famer. Is like the one guy that lived up to the contract in terms of the big, backfield deals in the last 6-7 years, whatever it is. And of course, Michael is not alone in wanting Derrick Henry in Dallas, and it is perfectly understandable to want that. The running game was not nearly good enough this year, and frankly, down the stretch for 3 years in a row, it has been a consistent thorn in the Cowboys' side. Their inability to run the football, even when teams are begging and daring and challenging them to do it, they have been unable to do so. Sometimes it was the back's fault. Sometimes it was the game plan's fault. Sometimes it was the offensive line's fault. Sometimes, and more often than not, it was all 3 of them. And the Cowboys' backfield could look completely different this upcoming season. Tony Pollard's a free agent. Rico Dowdle's a free agent. You have some cap space if you want to spend on a back. Although the Cowboys might decide Henry's a bit too expensive for them, but it is a very team-friendly market in the backfield. You should be able to find a fairly cheap runner. And at a certain point, the don't pay backs mindset, which I still believe in, becomes actually fairly team-friendly. If everyone's not paying backs, the market becomes super low. I don't want to pay back $15 million for half that cost. It's a different conversation. So would you sign Derrick Henry? It's the pinned comment on this video. You should know the drill by now. If an ad comes on YouTube, that's fine. Ignore it. Take advantage. Head down to the comment section. Type in Y for yes or N for no. Now, I have very few doubts that Derrick Henry can help at least a little bit. He's still Derrick Henry to a certain extent. But I would also caution the idea that Derrick Henry can get them back by himself. It's not really how running backs in general work. It's not how the game works. I mean, you can look at the numbers of the cap hits for teams that have won the Super Bowl. They're all super duper cheap. Now, you can structure it properly to ensure that, but that's a different conversation. Henry alone does not fix this running game. And in fact, I think we saw some of that in Tennessee. When was last time he had a really, really good offensive line? I would argue it was in 2020 when he averaged 5.5 almost yards per carry for 2,000 yards. He's still been good. He can still handle a workload. He can still be a better short yardage runner, can still be that powerful battering ram even as he continues to age. Yes, his numbers have declined. They've been fairly consistent on a per rate basis over the past 3 years. Still better than what you had from Tony Pollard. And I think he would fit better in your scheme if you're going to commit to doing the stupid inside zone stuff and not outside zone, or as I call it, the tight zone for Dallas because there was no space in there. But if you add Henry right now to this offensive line, I'm not sure the results change that drastically. I still think you're averaging probably not quite to the 4.5 yard per carry mark. And that's not a Derrick Henry thing. It's that the running back position needs help from all facets. If your quarterback's not very good and they're loading the box against you, you're not going to be able to run the football. Not a problem in Dallas. But if you're not blocking very well, there's only so much the back can do. You can't expect them to break 3 tackles every single play. I mean, there was a game this year where Tony Pollard had all but 2 of his yards come after contact. That's not a real plan up front. That's not a viable long-term outcome. You need more than that. So you do need changes up front too. If you run it back with the offensive line and no schematic changes to go, well, we'll just put in Derrick Henry. I think it'd be a little bit better, but I don't think better enough to what we want and need it to be in Dallas. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time is the place for last-minute tickets to your next big sporting event, music, concert, theater, whatever it is. Game Time has you covered. You shouldn't have to worry about buying tickets to your event. And if you want to wait to the last minute to make the best deal or make a last-minute decision even, because those are some of the best trips, right? Last minute, I decided to go to the concert, ends up being a blast, right? My wife is going to a Drake concert. She used Game Time because there's a little bit last minute as well. Use promo code CowboysChat for $20 off your first purchase. Simply download the app, create your account, and use code CowboysChat for $20 off. Obviously, no more NFL right now, but depending on where you're at, and it's America's team, you guys are everywhere, go to some Mavs games, go to some Stars games, go to other NBA, NHL games, go to some spring football games coming in the pipeline, or concerts as well. Whatever event you're trying to go to, Game Time has you covered. So again, use promo code COWBOYSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase at GameTime.co. Terms do apply, but download Game Time today for last-minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. Podcast Parsons back after he dominated the NBA Celebrity All-Star Game, winning MVP, and also sent Stephen Smith to the hospital with a crossover, allegedly. Maybe the greatest thing Mike has done in his professional career. I don't know. Well, what's more news to me is, Micah goes on the Stephen A. Smith show, which, that's fine, whatever. I don't love Stephen that much, and I appreciate Micah kind of, challenging Smith on some of the things he said about Dak, because, you're doing the talking head stuff sometimes there, Stephen. Here's what Micah said that I think is more intriguing. His conversation with Jerry Jones. We just sat and talked from before the game until the whole half about players I want to bring in, players I want to be around, who do I need, who do I want to be with, the future of our team. It's just dope to have that type of feedback with an owner that loves to hear your ideas and what you think and where the team can be. I do think in general, players, or we can go with the whole employees mindset, feeling heard is valuable. You want to have your players have a good relationship with ownership and front office and coaching staff, etc. You can also make a strong argument that, hey, maybe going over the coach's head is not the best idea. I don't think that's what's happening here necessarily, but there's a fine line there between hey, players being heard and players making decisions. It's not the latter. I treat it more of hey, when they go through this pre-draft process, you do want to have, when you're hiring a new employee, you want to have your other employees have input. And be even if it's just hey, I got bad vibes with that guy. Maybe that's not the route we go. That's valuable. You're not also allowing, and it's not the case to be clear, they're not having, GM Micah making personnel decisions, because that's not their job. Micah also spoke about this. He said, quote, so I told Jerry, look at every team that was in the Final Four. Who'd they have? Who did Baltimore have? Great linebacker core. White. Who did San Francisco have? A great linebacker core. Kansas City, Nick Bolton. They are coming along. I said we need to get another bigger linebacker who's going to come downhill, and we need to get a super 330-pound, nasty interior defensive lineman. Now, I would think that most of us agree with that, in addition to other personnel things you probably want to. We'll come back to Mazi Smith here in a little bit because, Micah himself has said he thought Mazi was going to be that nasty 330-pound interior defensive lineman, then he dropped weight. That's coming up later, don't worry. I would also love to add a free agent linebacker. And Parsons says he wants the Cowboys to spend too. That's the danger when your owner's talking so much. Owner says they're going to be all in. That has specific connotations to what we as fans and media and even players view it as. That might not be what Jerry meant to say. Well, now the cat's out of the bag to a certain extent. So will the Cowboys actually spend in free agency? I have my doubts there. We broke down some free agent linebackers yesterday. There's a lot of good options out there. They don't have to spend $17 million per year. Will the Cowboys actually spend more than 5? A for yes or B for no? Let's come back to Mazi Smith here and the weight conversation. Now, as we know, Mazi's weight dropped too much last season, and the Cowboys have to have him be better as we move forward. Here's what Michael Gelk of the Dallas Morning News wrote recently on Mazi Smith and the weight. Quote, his weight fluctuated and saw him become much lighter than the Cowboys preferred. At the NFL Scouting Combine, he weighed 323. At times, he was about 20 pounds below that, two team staffers told DMN. The weight was not conducive to anchoring double teams and freeing up the Cowboys' undersized linebacker group. Now, there's still no firm answer on the why. Was it a Mazi Smith rogue thing? Doesn't sound like that's the case. Was it a team-directed thing? Doesn't sound like that's the case from what Gelkin reported. But the next quote from Stephen Jones as part of that piece also kind of makes it sound like it to a certain extent, at least a little bit. Here's what Stephen said. I just think he needs to continue on an arc of continuing to get better. We knew when we drafted him we were going to ask him to do something different than he was doing at Michigan. He was playing in a square stance, two-gapping and playing the run. Dan wanted those guys to be more versatile. I think it's part of developing as a player. So was it a Quinn thing? Or maybe was it little column A, little column B, little column C? Was it maybe because the Cowboys were having Mazi play three technique, which isn't his thing, and they wanted him to get faster off the ball, and the solution was drop weight, which I think is a bad solution, regardless of who gets the blame. And it's probably not just one individual or whatever. It's probably a holistic thing, so that's the new Cowboys fun buzzword this offseason. The Cowboys got to get Mazi Smith's weight up. Every weekend, drop him off at Golden Corral and say, we'll pick you up in 5 hours. Have fun. Mike Zimmer, who actually believes in fatties only, he needs Mazi Smith to make a major jump forward. You need to get better results here out of Mazi Smith this season because you spent a first-round pick on him. I don't think you can just throw the first-round pick away after a year. We've seen other teams, other players, other people on this roster, or at least were on this roster, have a not great first year, playing out of position. Then they put him back where he's supposed to be, and good things happen. Byron Jones. So are you out on Mazi Smith? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section with your thoughts right now. I cannot bail on a first-round pick so fast. Now, that doesn't mean I say you can have no other defensive lineman on this roster. Got to go with just Mazi. No. And you need more than Mazi Smith. But when you drafted a more developmental, freaky, athletic upside nose guard, and then kind of, whether it was his fault, your fault, some combination of wasted a first year by making him into a 3 technique, that kind of defeats the whole purpose of it. Like you drafted a fatty and then made him a skinny. Or he got made into a skinny, whatever proper terminology is there. That's just not going to work. You need somebody else beyond Mazi as that run-stopping defensive tackle. I think Chauncey Golston at times can do that, but I almost wonder if he's better as a base defensive end that can reduce inside. I need more from Osa down the stretch in games. I need Hankins back and healthy, or a replacement for Hankins back and healthy. Neville Gallimore's probably not going to return. So I need more pieces in the middle, and I am hopeful and optimistic that the presence of Zimmer and some focused weight gain, that's good weight, will lead to better results for Mazi Smith in 2024.